As I've talked with friends about the Rainmaker profiles, one of the criticisms I've heard is, are you saying that only certain profiles can be successful? Yes and no. And so yes, and that there are certain profiles that things seem just to happen easier and faster for, but there's one profile that anybody can have and be successful, and that's called the grinder. The grinder is one of my favorite to talk about because for those of you that say, well, I don't know a ton of people and maybe don't fit the other profiles, maybe you are somebody that just says, I'm going to outwork everybody around me. Now, the grinder isn't just born being a grinder, and so I always laugh about it because I'll meet with people who want to be agents, and they'll say, well, I really don't know anybody, and I'm new to town, but I want to go sell houses. And I think to myself, how in the world do they plan to sell houses if they don't know anybody? And I'll start asking them some questions and try to figure out what is their work ethic. And I'll ask them questions like, have you been known as the person that works hardest on teams that you've been on or within groups? In your family, were you acknowledged as a hard worker? If they say no and they don't know anybody, then we probably have a problem. But every once in a while, I'll have somebody that says, man, I've always been the hardest working. Maybe they were an athlete. And they say, my coach always bragged on me because he said I wasn't the most talented, but I was the hardest worker on the field or the court. They may be a grinder because the grinder is going to outwork everybody around them. As a sales agent, a grinder may be somebody that does cold calls all day long, knocks on doors, puts flyers on windshields, works endless open houses, gets up early, making their calls, doing all the things they need to do. And the truth is they put in so much time consistently over time that they start to get results, even if they don't have the advantages of the other profiles. I think about a guy in radio sales that I know. His name's Charlie. And Charlie comes in, he's in his 70s, but Charlie will come into my office. You know, he'll come in at 4:30 in the afternoon sometimes. He'll come in at 8 sometimes. And he's always consistent about doing that. I finally stopped and said, Charlie, man, just know you've got my business, partially just because I want you to leave me alone. But how in the world do you find the energy to do this? And he says, my goodness, I've just always done this. I've always been a grinder. And he actually used that word. The reason Charlie is successful is because he's a grinder. And some of you will be successful in real estate sales because you are a grinder. How can you supercharge a grinder? Well, you supercharge a grinder through systems. Systems. Save yourself time, energy, and money. This may be through technology. This may be through leveraging people. This may be through some sort of script or routine they have or just a daily plan that they have. But the grinder uses systems to get more done. They generally have to put more hours in to get the work done to compensate for not being one of the other profiles, and they use systems to be successful. Grind is a visceral word. I mean, when you think about the word grind, you almost feel it in your bones, right? I mean, it almost hurts when you think about the idea of, I'm going to grind this out. I'm going to put my nose to the grindstone. And really the challenge for the grinder, I think we all can kind of understand, is eventually may be that they burn out. They just run out of steam. Or it may be that they begin to wear this badge of honor in our culture called busyness. Or maybe their identity just gets completely wrapped up in their work and we begin to call them a workaholic. I'm not a grinder. When my business finally started having results, it really took off. It was like the lid got peeled off. And so suddenly I'm writing contracts, I'm showing houses, I'm exhausted, but I finally have money to do some of the trips that I've always wanted to do with my family. So we went on a Disney cruise. Now, Disney's not my favorite place, but my kids wanted to be there. And so we're on a cruise and I'm there to enjoy my family. And the entire time I'm on this cruise ship, I'm trying to hide in the little coffee lounge, use the Wi-Fi there, and sort out real estate deals. I realized I'd created a business that owned me, and I no longer owned it. I was not present with my family because I hadn't put the systems in place. And these are the very same systems that a grinder will need to put in place in order to avoid becoming a workaholic. I actually got a call this week from somebody in business that I really respect, and he offered me an opportunity to do something really cool. And not only was it really cool, but he said it was going to earn me a lot of money. I went to my calendar and I looked at that, and that happened to fall on the week that my 8th grader goes back to school for her 8th grade year. My son begins his senior year in varsity football, and my wife goes back to school and she's a principal and she wants to make sure and serve her teachers and her students well. And I looked at my calendar and I said, I know this is a great opportunity, but I want to be present with my family. I can't go on this. Thank you for the opportunity, but I can't do it. He responded and he told me, you know, by throwing away this opportunity, you're throwing away a lot of money that your family really could benefit from. Think of all your family could do with that money. The truth is, he didn't know me very well at all, because my goal in life is not to necessarily make money. I want to live life on purpose with set priorities so that I can enjoy the present. I will not miss senior year football. I won't miss first week of 8th grade. I'll be there to support my wife, because money can't replace me being present in my home. The grinder or anybody kind of falling into the trap of I've got to make this amount of money, or I've got to be there, I've got to do all these things. I wear this little bracelet. It's from Puerto Vallarta. I got this. It's a little braided bracelet I wear. And I kept wearing it. It was from an all-inclusive resort we went to there. And my family, at the end of that vacation, we got together and just said, hey, we need to remember when we get back home not to take things so seriously. We have this little phrase like, hey, keep the sand between your toes. So there are weeks we get really stressed and we go out and just try to do something fun just to keep the sand between our toes, just to remind ourselves that life's not all about work. Sometimes the grinder needs to remember life is about a lot more than work. I want to be present for my family. In fact, I want to actually have some fun with life. You can keep up with the 3 Rainmakers, learn how to supercharge your profile, and learn about other things through the Steadfast Realty social sites. You can buy this book on Amazon, either Kindle or paperback, whichever you like. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you watching.